What happens when a small town juke joint becomes the hunting ground for a group of vampires? Let's find out. In the beginning, we meet a boy named Sammy walking toward a church. His shirt is covered in blood and he's holding a broken guitar. The pastor Jedediah welcomes him inside and prays for his soul, believing Sammy must have committed some sin to end up like this. The story then jumps back to the previous day. We see a cotton plantation where Sammy and his family work. Sammy looks out at the fields and sunset, dreaming of a better life somewhere far from the plantation. We're then introduced to two brothers, Smoke and Stack, who have just returned to their hometown of Clarksdale, Mississippi after spending time in Chicago. They made a decent amount of money working for the mob there and plan to use it to buy an abandoned sawmill from a local landowner named Hogwood. Their goal is to turn the sawmill into a juke joint, a lively bar with music and dancing. Hogwood warns them that opening such a place might attract trouble from the local clan, but the brothers don't seem too worried. They want to open it that very night. Next, they visit their uncle Jedediah, the pastor from the first scene, and ask his son Sammy to play guitar at the new joint. Jedediah doesn't like the idea, but Sammy agrees anyway, promising he'll be back in time for Sunday church service. On the way to the juke joint, Sammy asks his cousins what Chicago is like. He imagines it as a glamorous city full of opportunities, but the brothers tell him it's basically the same as Mississippi, just with taller buildings. Sammy is disappointed because he's always dreamed of going there. Later, the three stop by a place where Smoke and Stack had hidden a truck filled with stolen Irish beer and Italian wine. This shows that the brothers aren't exactly saints themselves. Smoke wants to wait a week before opening the joint to prepare, but Stack insists they open that night. He says it's too nice of a day not to celebrate. To save time, the brothers split up. Smoke heads to town to buy supplies, while Stack takes Sammy with him to recruit musicians and find someone to work the door. During the ride, Sammy plays a tune on his guitar, and Stack is impressed by how talented he is. Sammy then asks about Stack's childhood, and Stack reveals that their father used to beat him badly for no reason. One day, after being knocked out, Stack woke up to find his brother Smoke burying their father's body. They soon stop at the local train station where they recruit a local musician named Delta Slim. While there, Sammy meets a married woman named Pearl and invites her to come to the juke joint later. Stack, on the other hand, runs into an old flame named Mary. She's now married but still has feelings for him and is upset that he disappeared without saying goodbye. Stack brushes her off and tells her to leave, but he's shocked when she mentions her mother has died. After that, Stack, Sammy, and Slim go to the cotton fields to find a man named Cornbread to work as the doorman for the night. Cornbread refuses at first, but his wife encourages him to go, so he agrees. Meanwhile, Smoke goes to town with the truck. He makes a deal with a local Chinese couple, Grace and Bach, to supply food and paint a sign for the juke joint. Then he visits his lover, Annie. The two share a quiet moment by their deceased daughter's resting place. Smoke returns a small mojo bag Annie gave him years ago for protection. She blesses it again with some hoodoo magic to strengthen it, and after he confesses how much he still cares for her, she agrees to come help him at the joint that night. Somewhere else, a man named Remick appears, looking desperate and burnt by sunlight. He runs to a small shack and begs for shelter. A married couple, Bert and Joan, open the door cautiously. Remick says he's being chased by Indians and offers them gold if they let him in. The couple, tempted by greed, agree. Later, Joan drives away the supposed Indians with a gun, but when she goes back inside, she finds her husband dead on the floor. Remick is smiling with glowing red eyes and fangs. He's a vampire. He bites Joan, turning her and Bert into vampires too. As night falls, the juke joint finally opens. People fill the place, dancing, drinking, and laughing. There's a bit of tension when some customers try to pay with plantation tokens, fake currency only usable at plantation-owned stores, and Smoke worries it'll hurt their profits. Still, the place is lively. Pearl shows up and Sammy lights up when he sees her. They talk and flirt while everyone else enjoys the music. Things get awkward when Mary, Stack's old lover, shows up too. Stack tells her to leave, but she insists on staying, saying she just wants to be around her friends. Sammy, who wants to impress Pearl, plays a song with Delta Slim. Their music fills the room with energy and lifts everyone's spirits. Meanwhile, outside, Remick, Bert, and Joan, now vampires, arrive at the juke joint's door. They ask to come in and claim they just want to play music too, but Smoke doesn't trust them and refuses. We learn that vampires can't enter a place unless they're invited. After the performance, Sammy and Pearl sneak into a room together and make love. Stack hears the sounds from outside and realizes what's happening, so he leaves them alone. Later, Smoke and Stack talk privately about money. Smoke admits that buying the sawmill has left them broke, and if the joint doesn't make good money soon, they'll be out of cash in 2 months. Stack talks to Mary about how he and Smoke are struggling with money. Mary feels bad and says she wants to ask the three strangers, Remick, Bert, and Joan, for help. Stack doesn't like the idea, but Mary insists. Seeing she won't listen, he gives her a gun for protection. Mary goes after them and finds them nearby. They show her some strange gold coins, but when Remick reveals that he's a vampire, Mary panics and points her gun at them. She tells them to stay away and turns to leave, but Remick bites her and turns her into a vampire too. Now under his control, Mary goes back to the juke joint. She asks Cornbread, who's guarding the door, to let her in. Not suspecting anything, he invites her inside, which gives her permission to enter. Mary seduces Stack with a dance, and they go into a private room together. As they get close, she suddenly bites his neck. Smoke hears nothing from Stack and goes to check. When he opens the door, he finds Stack bleeding out while Mary feeds on him. Horrified, Smoke shoots her, but she gets up again with glowing red eyes. She laughs and warns him that she and her new vampire friends are going to kill everyone there, then runs off. Smoke tries to save Stack, but it's too late. He dies. Smoke and the others lock Stack's body in the storage room and tell everyone at the party to go home. Most guests leave without knowing what's really going on. Grace and Bach, the grocers, also decide to head out, while Slim takes over door duty so Cornbread can step outside for a bit. As Cornbread goes out to relieve himself, he hears strange whispering and disappears. Later, he comes back and asks to be let in again. Smoke feels something's off and refuses. When Cornbread demands his pay, Smoke slides money through the crack of the door. But Cornbread grabs his hand and tries to bite him. Smoke quickly shoots him. When Cornbread still moves afterwards, Smoke locks the door tight. Then, Stack's voice is heard from the storage room asking to be let out. Annie warns Smoke not to open it, but before they can react, Stack bursts through the door. Annie throws water mixed with garlic at him, which burns his skin and forces him to flee. Realizing how serious the situation has become, the group turns to Annie for advice. She tells them to gather garlic, wood, and silver. Although she's never faced vampires before, she's heard old stories about them. She explains they just need to survive until sunrise because sunlight will destroy the vampires. Outside, Remick has turned everyone who left earlier into vampires. He tells his followers that he's mainly there for Sammy, whose music might help him find something he's been searching for. Smoke thinks that killing Remick might save everyone, but Annie explains that once someone is turned, the only way to free them is sunlight or a wooden stake through the heart. As night goes on, the vampires outside start making eerie noises to scare those inside. The stress becomes too much, and Grace snaps. She yells at them to come in and fight. The vampires attack, and chaos follows. Grace, Pearl, and Annie are all killed or turned. Before Annie can turn, she begs Smoke to end her suffering, and with tears in his eyes, he stakes her. Slim sacrifices himself so Smoke and Sammy can escape, but outside they run into Remick and Stack. Smoke fights his vampire brother while Remick goes after Sammy. Sammy does his best to defend himself, finally smashing his guitar over Remick's head. A piece of silver in the guitar cuts Remick, burning him. All the other vampires scream in pain, showing they are connected. Just as Remick is about to kill Sammy, Smoke drives a wooden stake into Remick's chest, causing him to burst into flames. The rest of the vampires burn up as the sun rises. After surviving the night, Smoke gives Sammy his brother's car and tells him to leave town. He stays behind, knowing more danger is coming. Remick had mentioned that Bert was the son of Hogwood, the local clan leader, so Smoke prepares for a fight. When Hogwood and his men arrive, Smoke ambushes them with a hidden machine gun. He kills them all, but is fatally wounded in the process. Before dying, he imagines seeing Annie and their baby one last time. Sammy returns to his family's church, covered in blood and carrying his broken guitar. His father begs him to give up blues music, but Sammy silently leaves town. Years later, in 1992, Sammy is shown as a famous blues musician, performing in Chicago. One night, Stack and Mary, still vampires, visit him. Stack explains that Smoke spared his life after Stack promised not to harm Sammy. He also says they've been following Sammy's career all these years. Stack senses that Sammy will die soon and offers to turn him into a vampire, but Sammy refuses. Stack asks to hear one last song, so Sammy picks up his old guitar and plays. He admits he still dreams about that night, but says that before everything went wrong, it was the best day of his life. Stack agrees, saying it was the last time he saw his brother and the sun.